Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to my best chess games of all time series. So in this series we follow the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I wanted to show you a great attacking game played by the legendary Garry Kasparov. The game was played in 1989 between Bachar Kuatly and Garry Kasparov. Garry Kasparov here with the black pieces in the so-called King's Indian defense, and not that Garry Kasparov was one of the best chess players in history, he was also one of the best tacticians in chess history. You see also why in this particular game, but I think he was the best chess player in history in the King's Indian. I think he was familiar with all of these tactical elements of this particular opening, so that's why I decided to show you this game, because it had really some great attacking possibilities here for black. So but before we analyze the game, I wanted to first wish you a Merry Christmas. I want you to have a great time with your family and that you spend really some quality time with your family. I myself don't have special wishes here. I think I have my family, I have my work, I have my YouTube chess channel. As I said, I think I have everything covered. I'm not such a Christmas person. I think sometimes we want too much, I think, in life. What I want basically maybe is that my YouTube chess channel grows, but that's just my responsibility. If I work hard, I think it will happen. So but basically I'm satisfied with my life. I don't need extra things like maybe others do. I like to play chess. It gives me satisfaction. It's my hobby, and I hope you also that you enjoy my videos. I'll try even harder in the future, and I think we'll have a great time also in the 2020. So let's see the game. Here we have d4 played by Bachar Kuatly, g6, which is the modern defense, but the game will transpose into the King's Indian. The g6 move leaves you a certain flexibility in the game. c4, bishop to g7, knight to c3, d6, knight to f6, knight to f3, knight to f6, and now e4. Here after castling we have now the King's Indian setup, and here bishop to e2 was played, here e5 played by Kasparov, and here d5. You can also transpose after castling into the orthodox or this classical line of the King's Indian after knight to c6, d5, and now knight to e7. The main idea is here knight to d7 and f5 from black's perspective. Here after d5 we have the Peterson defense, and the problem is in this Peterson defense you don't have the possibility to play your knight to c6, so that's why you should search another square for a knight, and that's why here first the move a5, which is I think the best move in this particular opening line, because here it leaves you at least this option to play your knight to a6, and then creating with knight to c5 a certain blocking system here. Then the idea is to create some kind of a blockade with b6, a4, and on the other hand still we're trying maybe something like knight to e7 and then f5, f4, our common King's Indian attack on the king side. So here h4 was played by Bachar Kuatly, and I think it's not the best ways here to proceed from white's perspective. There are better lines, maybe something like h3, bishop to e3, then you're preventing your opponent to jump here on the square g4, still with the possibilities to create a flank attack here with the move g4 attacking black's king after castling, or to play even bishop to g5, which is a common idea in the Peterson system, slowing down black's progress here with the move f5 here. So you need many moves in order to make something happen. You have to at least bring your queen to e8, have to play something like knight to a6, then maybe h6, knight to h7, f5. So you see, you have to play at least 4 or 5 moves in order to make this attack. So this Peterson system is sort of a system which is trying to slow down black's common attack on the king side. So that's why this h4 move, I think it's a little bit too rushed, because it leaves also some weaknesses now in white's position. The weak squares now are g4 and f4 here. So here Garry Kasparov plays simply normal chess, I think, knight to a6. Here we have knight to d2, and there is a line h5. In some occasions I've seen many players attacking the castle king immediately with the move h5, but it's not a good opening line, I think, because we can simply take knight takes h5. This common rook sacrifice doesn't work here in this particular opening line, because here after bishop to g5 we can simply play bishop to f6 after something like bishop to e3, Bishop to g4, I think, is a great positional move. After queen to d2, we can hide with our king. After something like bishop to h6, I think we have everything covered. We have many pieces around around black's king. So after castling, I think we can simply take out the knight. After bishop takes f3, here a simplification move, bishop to g5. After trades of pieces, you see white has to trade off the queens, and now we are up the exchange. We have simply a possibility to maybe create some dangerous attacks on the g file. Still, this knight is perfectly fine. After something like knight to b5, we have at least this c7 pawn covered, so this bishop is blocked out, so this is game over, I think, for white. So in the game, knight to d2 was played, which is of course a great preparation, because you have the possibility to now finally push the pawn here on g4. But there is a problem about this move, knight to d2. It here covers the bishop. The bishop doesn't have a good activity. On the other hand, I think black has a better activity in this particular line, and here Garry Kasparov plays a very interesting move, knight to c5 immediately. It's not about attacking this e4 weakness, that's why this knight to d2 move is perfectly fine, covering the e4 weakness. The more important thing is that we have now the support of by this knight and the rook. We have the possibility to play the move a4. The move a4 here is very important, because after a4 we have also the possibility to play the move a3. You see the importance of this move, because this diagonal will be the most important diagonal now on the board. And I just wanted to imagine now the position if something clears here after something like b takes a3. This dark bishop would be really dangerous. And here Bachar Kuatly plays the most aggressive move here, g4. But Garry Kasparov plays a very interesting blocking system. He played the move first here, a4, simply keeping pushing here and creating a very nice space advantage with the preparation to play this very important move a3. If you play as white here a3, I don't think that's good, because you see this knight on d2 is covering the b3 square. So in one particular moment of the game you have to play something like knight to f3 or knight to f1, then maybe knight to g3. But if you do that, then of course knight to b3 is very dangerous. You can play the fork on the rook and the bishop, and continuing without the bishop pair in this particular line, I think it's a suicide for white. So here after the move a4, h5 was played by Bachar Kuatly, and here Garry Kasparov again plays, I think, a very interesting line, which I haven't seen in a while now. Here g takes h5, weakening the pawn structure in front of the king. Of course, if you take here g takes h5, I think h6 is perfectly fine. After something like rook to g1, we can go with our king. Here king to h8, and here after something like queen to c2, we can play c6. Cracking the position here simply in the center, and I don't think that white will castle in this game anymore. The king will stay in the center. You will need many moves, something like knight to f3 as said, bishop to d2, and then castling. But here we have, as I said already, this very important advanced pawn, and we can create further weaknesses in white's position. So here that's why g5 was played, simply passing through, attacking the knight, and most of us would play something like, I don't know, knight to d7, then maybe knight to b6. But this is a very cool move that Garry Kasparov plays, knight to g4. And there is one problem. If you play f3, then you lose the queen, because we have knight to e3. So far, this f3 move is not possible. But if white prepares the move f3 with something like knight to f1 and then f3, you see after this move, your knight is basically trapped. So Garry Kasparov went here into a trap of the knight. You don't have any squares anymore for the knight, so here you lose the knight probably in the next couple of moves. And here after the move knight on f1, Garry plays simply f5. Of course, en passant is not so good, because we can simply recapture with the knight, or we can simply take with our rook here, covering everything. And now we have this f2 weakness. If you take out with the bishop, then bishop to g4, and again this activity of the light square bishop, I think, is too much to handle for white, so this would be a favorable continuation for black. So now after the move f5, now comes this move f3, and the knight is trapped, which is very interesting that Garry Kasparov went into this particular line, sacrificing the knight, and here Garry Kasparov sacrifices the knight at least on a very active square here on f2. And you have to take, basically Garry Kasparov is saying to his opponent, come here, come to the square f2, place your knight in front of the rook. Now I'll crush you by opening the f-file, and basically you have to take out the knight because the knight plays a very annoying fork here on the rook and the queen, so that's why king to f2 had to be played, and now Garry Kasparov plays f takes e4. If you take with the knight, of course, it's not good. We have knight takes e4, you cannot take because of the pin by the rook on the king, so that's why king to g2, getting out of this f-file mess. But now Garry Kasparov plays this very important move a3. You see how great this preparation was to expand here on the queen side with the move a5, a4, and now a3. Now something could clear here. Now we have really some dangerous attack possibilities on this dark square diagonal. There are now several choices here for white. In the continuation, white tried rook takes h5, but if you try f takes e4 here, then we can simply take a takes b2. You have to take with the bishop takes b2, and now queen to g5 is very annoying. You have to cover with your knight to g3, and here h4 loses immediately. I think for white, in the next move we can recapture, we can take out the knight and go into a favorable middle game, I think. If you try here b takes a3 to stay with your bishop and covering here this g5 pawn, now we have a very, very interesting move. E takes f3. After bishop takes f3, we have e4. If you try here bishop takes h5, then the knight is hanging. You have also so you have to go also somewhere with the rook. If you take out the pawn, then knight to e4 again, knight takes, and bishop takes the rook on a1. You see how dangerous this dark square diagonal is, and I think again it's game over for white. So that's why in this particular moment, after the move a3, rook takes h5 was played, and now Garry Kasparov played anyway. E takes f3. You have to take out with the bishop. Of course, you cannot retreat with your king because you lose the bishop. So that's why bishop takes f3 had to be played, and now e4. Now again, this tactical idea, opening here the dark square diagonal. There are again now several choices. If you try bishop takes e4, I think again it's bad because we can simply take knight takes e4. After knight takes e4, we have a takes b2, a very powerful fork on the bishop and the knight and the rook. You have to take. After bishop takes b2, knight to f6, bishop takes g takes f6, queen takes f6, but we are simply a pawn up. We have a better activity with the pieces here, with the possibility here to play even rook to a3, playing very dangerous attacks. So I think again this is game over for white. So in the game after e4, bishop to e2 was played, and here Garry Kasparov plays the most active move, bishop to f5, activating the bishop, still not touching here this pawn structure on the queen side, because if we take here after something like a takes b2, bishop takes b2, I think white has regrouped a little bit, has broke the bishop at least on this diagonal. So that's why here Garry Kasparov plays the accurate move, bishop to f5, first activating all of these pieces in the continuation of the game, and now queen to d2. You see how dangerous it was if you leave the defense of this b2 pawn. Here, that's why this a takes b2 idea is very powerful, and also if you take, then you're opening here this diagonal for the dark square bishop. So that's why queen to d2 was played. If you try something like knight to e3 here to maybe attack the bishop, then bishop to g6 is perfectly fine. You see here we have rook to h3, but now we can play queen to g5. You see, because this knight to e3 move covers again this very important dark square diagonal, so the g5 pawn is hanging. If you try to cover with your rook, then queen to h4 is perfectly fine. After rook to h3, we have a very powerful check, and again I think it's game over. So in the game, if you try instead of knight to e3, if you try knight to g3 to attack the bishop, then again bishop to g6 is a very interesting idea, because now after the move rook to h3, we have again this very powerful move e3, again opening these two diagonals. If you take out this pawn, then again we have a takes b2. You see how dangerous this pawn is. After rook to b1, we can simply take out this knight, and again it will be game over. So not so easy, I think, to proceed here for white. Basically, this is a worse position, even with the piece up here. So that's why here queen to d2 was played instead of this knight to e3 or knight to g3 ideas. In the game, bishop to g6 played by Garry, simply attacking the rook. We have rook to h3, and now very important move, queen to d7, because now while here white played the move queen to d2, lost here this battery on the light squares. That's why this finally queen to d7 is possible, maybe with some possibilities to sneak in somehow with the queen to f5 and maybe creating again some dangerous attacks here on the square f2. That's why rook to g3 was played, at least getting another defender in front of the king, and here queen to f7, again with the preparation to play queen to f2, very annoying check. So that's why queen to e1 was played. Again, you see how white plays simply passive moves, which is not good. And here finally now rook from a to e8 was played, and now Garry Kasparov has all of his pieces on the most active squares. You see these bishops are aiming on this very important diagonals, the rooks are on very active files, the queen is creating this very dangerous battery, the knight on c5 is on a very active square with the possibility to create very important outposts here on d3, and this pawn is really one of the best pawns in chess history, creating this very annoying attack here, opening the dark square diagonal for the bishop. So perfect harmony between Garry Kasparov's pieces here. So bishop to e3 was played. Now finally he develops the bishop with the preparation to maybe play something like rook to b1, because this was not a good setup of whites. You see, although with the piece up, the pieces are really too passive, all of them on the board. This knight on f1 is too defensive. This rook hasn't participated in the game already, so this rook is on g3 is also defensive piece. The bishops are also, so it's not a good setup here of white. So knight to d3, very powerful outpost. Here we have queen to d2. If you try bishop takes d3, it's not about taking the bishop here. Again, we have this very annoying move, a takes b2. You have to play something like rook to b1, and now first e takes d3. If you try to take out the pawn, then we can simply take again. After queen takes c3, the queen is deflected from the defense of this knight on f1. Now we can simply take queen takes f1. After something like king to h2, we can even take out the bishop, sacrificing the rook, and now you see this is a very important move. Rook takes rook on f2. After trades of rooks, we can simply take another rook, and I think again this is game over. So it's even a forced checkmate sequence here. Basically you can prolong the game, but it's checkmate in 8. So again, a very nice attack here by white. So after the move queen to d2, here we have a takes b2 finally, but now there is a huge difference because this pawn is supported by the knight. Now a takes rook on b1 was played, and now bishop to e5 attacking the rook. Here rook to g4 was played, and now knight to f4. Very important move, getting rid of this bishop. This is the main idea, because the bishop is also protecting here this f1 knight, and now Kasparov's opponent took. Bishop takes f4, but now Garry Kasparov didn't take immediately. He played the move e3, which is very important because it liberates now this diagonal for the bishop on the rook. Here bishop takes e3 was played, and now Garry Kasparov simply took. Bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, and now bishop takes b1. Rook to f4 was played, attacking the queen, but now Garry Kasparov played a counterattack. Rook takes e3. If you take something like rook takes f7, we can simply play rook takes c3. If you take out the rook, we can take, and now again this is game over, because we can in the next move play something like bishop to g6 and b1, the promotion. So here after rook takes e3, Garry Kasparov opponent resigned. Great attack by the legendary Garry, I think, because he played really straightforward. He didn't retreat with the pieces at all, regrouped them through the whole game, found the most active squares on the board, and this was, I think, a great attacking performance by the legendary beast from Baku. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it a lot. Again, I wish you a Merry Christmas, and for those who are not celebrating Christmas today, I want you to have a great rest of the day. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.